Hello and welcome to the Catalog Collector. Today we are talking about one of my most favorite watchmakers, Parmigiani. Parmigiani is, in my opinion, a very unique watchmaker in that it is a production watchmaker that is able to produce watches of a quality which are not seen in production watches in this price range. Parmigiani is not an independent watchmaker in the sense that it's one guy working in a shed making watches in the Swiss Alps. No, that's not what Parmigiani is. Parmigiani has a factory. They provide movements for other people, and that's really what it comes down to. They make their own movements in large quantities. And yet, even though they make it in large quantities, somehow they can offer something really special. So let's get started. I should add that I already made a video on Parmigiani, but that was a little card they sent through the mail, really a postcard basically. This is a catalog, I think from a few years, probably from a few years before the postcard I got, but it is a catalog and I have it. Got it in New York City at one of those boutiques where they have many different companies, and well, they offered me this catalog and I'm really glad to have it. I guess, well, I haven't done this in a while. This is my first catalog collector from this new batch, and well, let's see how it goes. In terms of looks, this catalog is nice, thin, really not much to talk about. Regular, nice catalog. Yeah, the Parmigiani lettering is not metallic or anything. And they have basically an outline of, which you can see actually better on the camera than in real life, an outline of one of their movements, I guess a chronograph, because of the column wheel. Anyway, we enter and we get to the history. This is Michael Parmigiani, Michel, I don't know. Mr. Parmigiani, who was originally a watch repairer, a restorer. And he was doing this in the middle of the quartz crisis, which I think really sets the tone for what Parmigiani has done. Mr. Parmigiani started his career in watchmaking at the height of the quartz crisis, when traditional watchmaking was at an all-time low, and really there was thought of mechanical watchmaking dying out completely. He was successful. And then in 1996, 1996, he launched Parmigiani Fleurier. And that was the start of something really special, I think, and really, in a way, Parmigiani forced the arrival of the small independent watchmakers who make watches for incredible prices with incredible finishing and all that, because here's a company doing something, well, let's get into it. A bit about restoring. You can see, I mean, honestly, even with modern, with a modern watchmaker like Parmigiani being so amazing, in my opinion, even they can't really match what has been done a long time ago. Not really that they can't match it, actually, and that's an interesting point I like to touch on just for a moment. I don't think it's really why we don't have these incredible pieces like this. I mean, I'm not 100% sure that this is the best example, but you go into a museum of old things, basically, that are made for kings and queens and all that, and they're just so much better than what you can get today. So much better. And I think, first of all, that's not true with everything. Engraving, for example, there are master engravers right now who are doing work equal or better than what the masters of old did. But I think the big thing is the costs of labor, of this kind of labor, this kind of skilled labor, have gone up. And that's one thing. Another thing, the price people are willing to spend has gone down. And with that, the wealth inequality has shrunk. Also, the rich people aren't necessarily going for the handcrafted things. They're going for technology, modern technology. I mean, back in the day, when this was modern technology, it was, well, modern technology, it was art. This was the height of human achievement at the time. Now, though, there are other technologies, computers and rockets and all kinds of other things, which sort of steal away the rich people's money, the ultra-rich's money from the art. And what that has meant is that art has become much more accessible to the masses, but the overall quality of certain arts, not all, but certain arts, especially ones where you make an individual artwork, and that individual artwork goes to a single person or a very small group of people, and the artist is today not going to spend as much time on that because it just, well, times have changed and that's not how things work anymore. Right now there's more art, but in this case, the quality, not the quality, but the amount of quality, if you know what I mean. You can have the same quality of engraving, but the amount may have changed. So Parmigiani Fleurier manufacture. I didn't actually read any of this, so we're just kind of going through what I know. But Parmigiani Fleurier is an in-house watch movement manufacturer. And they are not only an in-house watch movement manufacturer, but they are a top-of-the-line watch movement manufacturer. They make watch movements that, for those of you who don't know, rival Patek Philippe, in my opinion, beat it. And they are truly a hot horology, or however you pronounce that, watchmaker. They have the beveling, they have the finishing, the handmade things, and, well, not all of it is handmade, but you know what I mean, the Patek Philippe level of finishing. Perhaps not a Langaunzona, but definitely Patek Philippe. Here I would assume that's some kind of tourbillon or something. That's how it looks like to me. Yes, they have specialty dials and all that, and that's incredible. They have like all big, incredible watchmakers. Now, I should mention, Parmigiani isn't really big in the sense that you hear of them like you hear Patek Philippe. They are big in the sense that they have a big production. They sell movements to other companies, but they're not that big. They're relatively small, and most people would consider them a boutique watchmaker. Some kind of dancing horse thing. Now let's go on to the collections. We have the Kalpa, we're gonna get the Tanda, and we're going to get last one, which is the Torque. Kappa, as you can see, has the tonneau shaped case, that's rectangular case. We'll get to that in a moment. The Tanda has a round case, and the toric also has a round case. They have round cases, and they have more complications basically, and are more technically advanced. It's a real shame that this catalog only has one movement picture. It's really a shame, but it is what it is, and we're gonna have to deal with this. I will quickly go through a few points I want to make about Parmigiani and their watches as a whole. A lot of the dials, in my opinion, like these, are quite lackluster, and they make the watches lackluster. Then you get something like this, which is really nice, and then you get a toric like this, which is really, really nice. And see, this is where I think you can see how Parmigiani is unique in their dial work and design and all that. They're quite unique, but you can also see that being completely unique isn't always an amazing thing. Something like this really works. It just works. There's something about it. It's almost perfect, if such a thing exists. Like the Alanganzona Datograph Perpetual is perfect, the dial design, compared to any other perpetual calendar chronograph I've ever seen or heard about. However, a lot of their watch dials, in my opinion, just don't have that, especially these. So I'm gonna come back to them. A lot of these watches in the toric line, they are quite special. I mean, this, it works. It really, really works, and it's pretty much perfection, design wise. Even in the regular Tanda line, well, I mean, this is, I have to say, quite nice. And unfortunately, here in this catalog, you don't have all that many, but you can see the regular Tanda. This is the model that, well, I would recommend to those starting out with Parmigiani. That's a good price, good watch. Really, the regular Parmigiani you would get. And it's very nice. Really a simple dress watch, and it is just phenomenal. This, not quite so much. Moving on to the movement, which is the whole point of this video. Parmigiani makes in-house movements. They make in-house movements at the quality of Patek Philippe. You can see this is a big rotor movement, but their major contribution, I think, is the micro rotor movement, and I guess it's a hand wind in the Kalpa series. They have a tonneau shaped or movement. I believe it's hand winding, and they also have a version of that that's really spectacular with hand engraving and all kinds of scroll work on it. Fortunately, can't show it. Well, that's a limited edition and quite expensive. I think like $60,000 or $80,000. Yeah, but that's the price you pay for art. And really, what I have to say about the movements is that they have something special. The micro rotor movements, they have something that just you want to look at forever. They really have that quality, but without going overboard. Not that you can go overboard with quality, but the watches, the movements, I mean, they can somehow produce them in mass quantities, put them in their watches for really good prices, and you've got a movement from a big company. And that's a movement that can be easily serviced, easily maintained and parts replaced and all that, where you really now have two options when it comes to getting a hot horology movement for this kind of price. And first, let's get into the price. The price is about $10,000 to $20,000, perhaps a bit less if you want used, and you get either this movement or the micro rotor. I would get the micro rotor. What you basically have is a watch with a very nice movement for the price. Very nice dial, very nice case, everything very nice. $10,000 to $20,000. At that price, very nice striping, guilloche, micro rotor, that's their specialty. This design of guilloche, they have that on the micro rotors too. You can see a really nice quality of beveling. Now, I believe the beveling now I don't know whether the beveling on their micro rotors are any better, but you can see very nice countersinks, very shiny beveling. It is quite nice. And honestly, well, it can't really get much better than this in terms of finishing from a company that makes a lot of movements. See, one watchmaker can spend a long time making a movement, as we talked about with the art of old. In a big production house, you're just not gonna get that. But this is really good. That large rotor is nice, but it's not really nice. This isn't a movement you'd look at all day, and their micro rotor movement is. And that's really all I've got to say about Parmigiani. Yeah.